At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Hi, I'm John Malice. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Monday morning. We're going to talk to a member, or two, I should say, of the Fresno County Sheriff's Department. We'll talk about drugs, marijuana, meth use, and also recruitment. 436-ME-TV, option 11 on this Monday morning on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. Our sponsor today, Dr. Thomas Casagrande of 2020 Optometrics. And welcome back to the program. Usually it's on the air, off the presses on this Monday morning, but not today. We're talking to two members of the Fresno County Sheriff's Department. We'll talk about recruitment in the second half hour, but first, in the first 30 minutes, we'll talk about drugs, specifically meth use here in the Central Valley. You'll be shocked at some of the numbers, and also marijuana. It is a big issue considering this is an election year, and could one of those, well, it could be a ballot measure in November as to whether or not to legalize marijuana here in the state of California. We'll talk about that as well. It's 436-ME-TV option 11. A couple of programming notes, and that is tomorrow we'll have the owner of the Fresno Grizzlies here. Chris Cummings will be here live in the flesh to talk about the future of that baseball team, whether or not he can find investors, whether or not he can just outright sell the team, what the deal is with this project they want to build out beyond the center field wall at the Chuck. We'll talk to him about all of that, and then Ron Mortanian will be here for the last 10 or 15 minutes of the program to talk about a show that's coming up. I guess you could say he's a comedian. He's a songwriter, he's a musician, he's a comedian. We'll talk about Kev, the show coming up here in just a couple of weeks. So that's tomorrow. And then on Wednesday, Jeremy Pierce will be here. He wants your vote for Fresno City Council, District number 6. In the meantime, Comcast Channel 375 is your station for Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno every Monday through Friday, live at 10 o'clock in the morning. If you don't have Comcast, or you can only watch a portion of this program today, you can catch us on 43.6 and 13.1. The replay comes later in the day. As you can see there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight on 4.6 Biz TV at prime time, and in YouTube, on our YouTube channel, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Whatever show you want to watch from the last 4 years should be up there online. So the focus of today's program, at least for the first half hour, is going to be on marijuana and meth use. And it's going to be a little bit shocking because it was to me, as far as meth use is concerned. 436-ME-TV is the telephone number here, option number 11. Let's put up some photos. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to meth use, my friends. Meth is one of the most dangerous drugs out there right now, polluting our streets, our neighborhoods, simply destroying the lives of many people right here in the Central Valley. And you know, one of the many reasons for that is meth is very affordable right now. The price for a pound of meth has plummeted in recent years, but worse yet, it is one of the most addictive drugs out there that you can find. It may not kill you right away, but I guarantee you won't escape it. It will eventually get you. According to law enforcement officials, although meth use here in the valley is running rampant, most of that is manufactured in Mexico. Then somehow it's smuggled back into California, transported into ice conversion labs, and there are some bargain prices out there on the streets, my friends. If you are into this kind of stuff, if you really want to get it, I guess you can. Meth use leads to many different types of crimes like burglaries, robberies, and that's what these users do. They try to commit these various crimes. They have a habit to support, and that's what they're doing. And get this, possession of a small amount of meth is only a misdemeanor. You would have thought maybe for a minute it would have been a felony. Not so. A citation and boom, you're off to court. On the program today, we'll also talk about marijuana and recruiting cadets. The Sheriff's Department wants you on the force, my friends, to battle that right there, the use of meth and other drugs. Live in our studio is Lieutenant Matt Alexander of the Fresno County Sheriff's Department. He is here to talk about that meth use. He's here also to talk about marijuana use. We'll talk later in the program to a person who wants to recruit you into the Sheriff's Department. We'll tell you how you can join the force if you are so interested. 436-ME-TV option 11. Dr. Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor today here on the program. It's Connect with Me on ME-TV Fresno. Back in just a moment.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Back here on the program, thanks to Thomas Casagrande, our sponsor today here on the program. And a reminder, tomorrow, Chris Cummings will be here. Wednesday, it'll be Jeremy Pierce. But right now, we have Lieutenant Matt Alexander here from the Fresno County Sheriff's Department. Good morning. Good to see you, sir. And so in the monologue, I mentioned meth, a little bit about marijuana, but meth use. All right, I said in the monologue it's rampant, Lieutenant, but how rampant is it? That's the question. It's kind of shocking, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's everywhere, and the guys working patrol, they see it the most. You know, they're seeing it on traffic stops, they see it in domestic violence calls, they see it everywhere they go, just about, and it affects so many different areas of crime and so many different areas of people's lives that it's hard to get around these days.
Okay, is it because of the availability of meth? Is it because of the price? Is it because it's addictive, or is it because of all of the above?
Yeah, it's all those things. You know, I mean, the cheaper it gets, the worse the problem gets, obviously, because it's that much easier to get your hands on. But, you know, people that are addicted to meth, they're going to find a way to get it, no matter how much it costs. You know, that'll always be a priority in a drug addict's life.
Have you've been on the force how long now?
A little over 20 years.
Have you seen it this bad?
You know, I worked street-level narcotics probably, I don't know, I guess it was about 13 years ago now, and I got to see it quite a bit through that job. And
is it worse now than it was when you first started?
I don't know that I'd say it's any worse as far as the abuse of the drug, but, I mean, the penalties are certainly more lax now, like you mentioned earlier, and it just makes it that much harder to combat. So, I mean, I don't think it's any better than it was 13 years ago. So, yeah, it's probably a little bit
why
worse.
is that? Why can't we get a handle on this? Why is it so rampant? After all these years, it's still out there wreaking havoc.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of money in it, you know, and as long as there's money to be made, people are going to find a way to get it over here and to sell it and to get it into the hands of people who want it. So that's always very difficult to combat. They've been combating that with various types of drugs for decades in this country, centuries.
Explain the process, because I just briefly touched on it in the monologue, but I'd like you to as an expert here, to tell us how they do this now. The trend here in Fresno County is to turn methamphetamine into these ice lab conversions. But so what happens to the meth here? It's taken to Mexico, and then what?
Well, most of it's originating south of the border these days.
In liquid form, right?
Right. A while back, the United States made it pretty difficult to get pseudoephedrine, which is a precursor for methamphetamine in large quantities. And once they did that, we saw most of the production move south of the border, where it's easier to get in Mexico. They still bring it across in different forms. Sometimes it's in liquid form, sometimes it's already in crystal form, and it makes its way up here. In California, it's cheaper than it is in other parts of the United States because we're so much closer to the source.
It starts in liquid form, or usually, generally
Sometimes,
speaking,
yes.
in Mexico, and then somehow, how do they smuggle it back in?
Lots of different ways. They're smuggling it in vehicles. Is always going to be a very
Water
popular
bottles
way.
like this?
You'll see it in water bottles. You'll see it in tequila bottles, laundry detergent bottles that are factory sealed. We've seen it come across in lots of different ways. We've seen it come across in, everything from the windshield wiper reservoir of a vehicle to the fuel tank of a semi. Yeah, I mean, you can't underestimate their creativity and how they'll try to avoid detection because, like I said, there's a lot of money in it.
So any way that you can transport it, any way you can transport liquid, just like water, is those are the means that they're using to transport it back to California.
Correct.
And then what happens to it then? They go into these labs, these conversion labs, these ice conversion labs. And what is an ice conversion lab? Explain that.
Well, the meth is typically a finished product when they start with it across the border, and then they will suspend it in liquid. They'll pour it into whatever it is they're going to suspend it in to smuggle it across, and then once it's here, then they now have to get the meth out of the solution. So, there's various ways they'll do that. Sometimes they put it under over a heating source because that'll expedite the solvents that it's in becoming fumes and evaporating off, and leaves them with the finished product. And a lot of times they'll just pour acetone. You had pictures of acetone canisters in the beginning of your show here, and they'll use that to pour it over the top of it just to clean it and make it look pretty. It's more of a marketing technique than anything. And then they let it dry, and it makes that crystal form that everybody's used to seeing, that you had pictures of, like that one right there.
Yeah.
And that's what they want. They want those big shards. It's easier to market it. They get better prices for it, the better it looks. It isn't really any more effective at getting people high. It just looks better, and so they can sell it for more. And that's what they do. But the problem is when they pour acetone and everything on top of it, it creates a lot of fumes.
It can blow up.
And yeah, the danger is they don't
cause a fire, one of the two.
Right. If they ventilate the house while they're doing that, then the neighbors are going to smell fumes, and somebody might call the cops or the fire department. So they seal the house up so that nobody smells it. But when that happens, they trap all the fumes in there, and then, once an ignition source gets
Kaboom.
Introduced, then you get an explosion. Right?
Man, so that was the ice conversion labs that we were checking out right there. And
Correct.
So where are these labs in Fresno County? All over the place? And how many are there? Would you say thousands of these labs, or hundreds?
Probably not thousands, I would hope.
But hundreds.
Yeah, they're out there, and I wish I knew where they all were right now.
But they're
if I
hidden.
did, I wouldn't be here talking
They're
to you.
hidden.
But yeah, they're hidden pretty well. They can be anywhere. We've found them in neighborhoods that you really necessarily wouldn't expect to find them in. We've seen them all over the place. Lots of different kind of socioeconomic areas of the county and the city, and it's just, you really can't say that couldn't happen in my neighborhood, because it's just hard to say. We find them all over the place.
Right. And so how do you dismantle a lab like that?
We have a lab team in Fresno County that specializes in that. They wear the chemical suits, respiratory protection, all that stuff. They have a lot of training in that. I actually spent about 4 years on that team up until last year. And so if you find a suspected lab, we would call that team and have them come out and take all the safety precautions to process it.
Once that lab is gone and you've dismantled it, is the ground contaminated? Is the area contaminated? Does it have to be quarantined, or do people have to stay away from it, or what happens to the ground soil?
There's almost always some level of contamination. Not necessarily the ground soil, but it can be. It kind of depends on the area you find it in. If you find it out in a ranch or something, you could have fumes in the dirt. If you find it in a house, what we typically will do after we finish processing it is we seal the house up, we notify environmental health, they come out, they're going to do tests, they test the paint and the walls, the carpet, you know, everything, and they almost always find some kind of contamination. And so then the health department will shut the house down, and the owner will then have to do whatever renovations are necessary. Yeah, sometimes it is, but it's pretty expensive. And a lot of times, you know, the people that are running the labs do not own the house. That's typically the case that we find, is they're renters, and so you got to be careful who you rent to.
Yeah,
because you're going to be on the hook for the expenses of getting that house back up to par before it can be inhabited again.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Lieutenant Matt Alexander is here, and you are in charge of the NARC team, right?
Correct.
Pretty much?
Yes.
And what is that? Just explain that just briefly.
Well, the Sheriff's Narcotics Enforcement Unit is a group of people that are responsible for handling drug investigations in Fresno County. We focus on marijuana investigations, methamphetamine investigations, cocaine, heroin, you know, whatever comes across our desk, we're going to investigate it.
Where does before I go to break here, where does meth stack up to the rest of the drug scene, like marijuana, cocaine? Is it number one, top of the list?
In terms of what? What do you mean? Like
usage,
how
sale?
much we're seeing?
Yeah, how much you're seeing.
Our team focuses heavily on marijuana in this county. It keeps us pretty busy, but you know, the meth is all out there too. You got a lot of everything out there, but I would say meth and marijuana easily the top two.
Yeah, one and two. They probably swap one and two. I'm sure they do.
Yeah, and it just depends on how much attention you want to put into one or the other that particular day or week. But there's a lot of meth out there. We deal with a lot of marijuana issues in our county. We have a very aggressive marijuana ordinance that keeps us pretty busy enforcing. You know, but we're seeing an uptick in other drugs too, cocaine and heroin a little bit more recently, but by far meth and marijuana are the
because of the price.
Yeah,
mainly, and we'll get into that in just a moment. I got the numbers here that are just rather alarming, to be honest with you. Lieutenant Matt Alexander from the Fresno County Sheriff's Department, head of the NARC team. 436 MeTV option 11. Dr. Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor today here on the program. Back in just a moment.
The following is a list of celebrities you will not see on MeTV programs. Charlie Sheen, Lindsay Lohan, Snooki, Paris Hilton, Perez Hilton, Honey Boo Boo, Justin Bieber, Simon Cowell, Chris Brown, Miley Cyrus, and the Real Housewives of any place. This is who you will see on MeTV programs. Lucy, Ralph, Mary, Perry, Gilligan, Kenner, Spock, Batman, Rowdy, Festus, and the Beaver. MeTV. Thanks for watching.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
On the program today, Matt Alexander. He is a lieutenant from the Fresno County Sheriff's Department. We have a phone call here, so we'll take that. Good morning, caller. You're on the line. You're on the show with Matt Alexander. Go. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Hi.
Morning.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Mellows and Lieutenant. I just had a question about all this. What is the severity of, like, when these people get apprehended into, you know, when they've done this, as a punishment? I mean, because if it's not something if it's gonna be something that's gonna put them right out there again, so they can migrate more or less. Is there some way that they can be perhaps punished a little more severe, but put in jail for a longer time or something? You know, because to me, I think they get a chance to get out, they might even migrate, or they keep doing it, and that's why it's, you know, I don't know. I'm just thinking.
You want me to answer that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we agree with you, and the answer is, yeah, it's not a very stiff penalty if you find somebody with just a usable amount for personal use. The voters of California have decided to make that a misdemeanor, like John alluded to earlier in the show, rather than a felony, which it used to be. And so, the reality is there's not a whole lot of consequence. The penalty is not as stiff as I think it ought to be for possession. Now, if you catch somebody moving larger amounts, you can catch them moving a lot more weight, you might be able to get a little bit of a stiffer sentence for them, but it takes more and more these days to even get that.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay. Yes. Well, I hopefully they can come up with a little bit more stiffer penalty, and that would definitely help. I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you for answering my question.
All right.
Good
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you, caller. I appreciate it. 436-ME-TV, option 11 is the telephone number here. So, Matt, who's using meth? Who are these people?
Everybody. Nobody's immune from it. We see it across all different socioeconomic strata. The guys on patrol are seeing a lot of the people are hitting their rock bottom, because that's when we're getting calls for service. That's when we're finding people that are having trouble coping, and they're committing crimes. They're stealing to finance their habit. They're trying to, do whatever they can to get more drugs into their hands. A lot of them become violent after they've been using it for a certain amount of time, and so it'll manifest itself that way. But it's not to say that those are the only people using it. People that are making good money, that have good solid jobs,
Good families.
they're
using it too.
They use it too, and it's hard to know what stage of addiction you're finding somebody in.
Yeah. What about purchasing the ingredients of meth? Is that easy to do because it's so easy to mix the ingredients and just make meth?
There are ways to purchase the ingredients locally and to make small amounts of meth. It's a little bit more dangerous, and it's not going to be real cost effective, but we have seen people that make small user amounts just for their own consumption. And
You can just go into a regular store and buy these ingredients?
you can, yeah.
Anywhere in Fresno, huh?
You could probably get everything you need at a 7-Eleven,
Really? Just to make
Or-
meth?
I mean, you might have to make 2 stops, but yeah, you could do it, and it's all out there,
How about some of the retailers? Are they aware of what's going on, and do they recognize the ingredients and what people are doing?
Some do, and we would occasionally get a call from a retailer for that, but it used to be much more common about 10 years ago or so, when we saw a lot of large-scale production here in the valley, because people were buying huge amounts. And like I said, they made it much tougher to get pseudoephedrine.
Yep.
Basically, people go to the store.
Prescription now.
Yeah, so you go in there, you get a cold or allergies or something, and you go in there and try to buy a pack. What do they do now? They want to see your driver's license. They enter it into a database, and they only sell you 1 or 2 boxes at a time. And that's all a result of the crackdown on the precursors. So, it can still be done. And back east, they see it a lot more than we do out here, where people are doing what they call one-pot cooks, or the shake and bake method, where they basically take an empty 2-liter and they can make a small amount of meth that way. The problem is it's a very dangerous way to make meth, and they get a lot of them blowing up.
Some people in Maine are using meth at an alarming rate. It's all over the internet, so it's rampant in that state, much like it is in California. So it is a nationwide problem. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, I just had a question. How often are the deputies themselves tested for marijuana and methamphetamine?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
Do they get tested weekly or monthly or something?
Okay, good question.
Now, we don't get tested on any kind of routine basis. They will do random blood checks for certain employees, especially if employees have a Class B license and that type of thing. But that's more of an administratively driven issue from DMV.
But they can random test you or anybody else that they want to, right? Pretty much.
They could. I
It's
mean,
legal.
if they want my blood to check it, they're welcome to it anytime they want. But
Right.
but no, we don't have a program in place where they're just systematically testing deputies' blood.
So what about the age groups? Because a while back, about a year ago, there was somebody on this program that told me that meth use is really going wild in some of the high schools around here. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, we see it younger and younger all the time, but like I said, it doesn't stick to one age group. It's across the board.
Okay.
Yeah, but definitely, if you've got a kid in high school, you shouldn't tell yourself that that can't happen. You should be paying attention and staying involved.
So
in
how
your
does
life.
it start? If you're in high school, how does it start? Somebody approaches you with what?
Same way anything started when you were in high school, you know? I mean,
Right.
You go to a party or you're hanging out with friends and somebody introduces it and offers it to you. And it doesn't matter if it's alcohol, marijuana, meth, cocaine, heroin. You know, there's always going to be that one time where somebody offers it to you. And
What are the
you gotta
different
make a
ways to
decision.
use meth?
Typically, we see people smoking it. People do put it in liquid form. They heat it up and they'll inject it too.
Mm-hmm.
That's typically an addict who's a little further into the addiction.
Into the system, yeah.
You know, you'll see them start, we call it slamming it, but they'll inject it into their veins with a needle, like you would imagine a heroin addict doing.
But most people smoke it like a marijuana joint?
Typically, not like a joint. They'll put a little bit of it in a glass pipe,
Okay.
and then they'll heat it up, and they'll just inhale the fumes directly into their lungs, and that's what gets them high.
Gotcha.
That's the most common form.
All right, now here's some alarming numbers here. In 2006, meth was going for about 18 to 20 grand a pound. Now it's going for around, you can get it as low as $3,000 a pound. What's the reason for the price drop? Dramatic price drop since what? This is 2006. That's like 10 years ago. In 10 years,
Yeah.
the price has dropped that much.
Yeah, they have.
Because?
And, just because of the availability, and they switched to a different method in Mexico because they started having problems getting pseudoephedrine as well, and so that caused some quality control issues, and I think that played a part in driving the price down a little bit. But the biggest issue is it's just availability. You know, it's supply and demand, and the market is flooded right now, and so the more of it that there is out there, the cheaper it is.
So is it more available than certain types of pills that you can pop, prescription drugs? Is it more available than cocaine, more available than marijuana?
I would say meth and marijuana are probably on par in terms of availability. Cocaine, heroin, that stuff's still a little harder to get. It's a little bit more expensive. It's a lot more expensive, actually. But yeah, I mean, the availability is what drives the price.
Yeah, and if you're not a psychologist, but if you were to be pinned down on this, you would say what to the question of why in the heck are these people using this stuff? For what reason? Meth, I'm talking about meth.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think, you know, there's probably a variety of reasons out there that people would try it for the first time. A lot of people might take it recreationally.
Bored? They
Maybe,
bored?
Maybe, thinking that it's just going to be fun and not appreciating how easy it is to get in trouble and get addicted to it, and all of a sudden you're not in control of your life anymore. Other people, you know, same reason they medicate themselves, self-medicate themselves with anything, I guess. They're having trouble coping with whatever stressors they're dealing with in life, and they think that that's a good answer, at least a short-term answer, but it ends
Yeah.
up being a long-term problem because
Hey,
it's very hard to get rid of.
when we come back, we'll talk about marijuana use here in the Central Valley and what effect this may have for the November ballot. Is it going to be on the ballot as an initiative? Will it become legalized? Recreational use I'm talking about. 436 MeTV, option 11. We're back here on the program on Connect with me, Dr. Thomas Casagrande, our sponsor today. Back in a moment.
Want to create something extraordinary? Create perfection. Our lifestyle appliances make it easy. KitchenAid, Ventura TV appliance, and you, when only the best will do.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
On the program today, Matt Alexander, a lieutenant for the Fresno County Sheriff's Department. Let's get to the marijuana issue. Roll the videotape, and we'll talk a little bit about marijuana. You face about what? I think you're seizing right around 200,000 plants a year. That's a lot of marijuana. Fresno County has about, what, 6,000 square miles altogether. How many officers on the force right now to combat this?
I have 14 detectives that are full-time.
On the NARC unit?
Right.
Okay.
And then, you know, we borrow officers from other units when we have to, and we have particularly large grows where they're logistically challenging. We can borrow bodies from other places. But, you know, my normal working force is 14 guys.
Yeah, and the use of marijuana, it doesn't seem like it's gone down. It seems like, you know, I don't know. I don't have the hard numbers on usage, but it seems like the number of marijuana grows that you're finding have gone down since the ban went into effect a couple of years ago.
Yeah, the amount of grow sites has gone down slightly, not a lot, but what we found have decreased is the size of the grows. So people are growing them in smaller amounts, probably to have a better chance at avoiding detection, is my guess. But yeah, we haven't seen a ton of decrease in the grow sites, but we have seen a reduction in plant count.
Yeah, in 2014 there were 206 marijuana grows. 2015 a little higher, 230. But these are found where? Not just in open fields like this, where you can see them from, say, a chopper or, you know, a small plane. But where else are these marijuana grows? Where are they hidden? In neighborhoods like this?
Yeah, we find them all over the place. We have a lot of allegations pouring in constantly, so we're always investigating them, flying these locations to try to confirm from the air. We go to the door and just knock on the door sometimes.
Really?
My guys are out doing one right now as I'm sitting here talking to you. So, yeah, you'll find them in backyards in the city. You'll find them in, you know, a lot of rural areas, ranches. You showed some vineyards and orchards. We find them mixed in with legitimate crops a lot. Mm-hmm. People try to avoid detection that way, and then we do also see them up in the mountains too.
Yeah, but do you see these indoors and outdoors?
Yeah, we see indoor grows, and you know, especially during the wintertime, you know, a lot of people move indoors because it's not dependent on the weather, and so they'll get the plants going indoors, and then when the weather gets nice, they'll transplant them into the ground.
Yeah, what kind of other crimes does this lead to when you find all these types of grows?
Marijuana?
Yeah.
We've had a huge upsurge over the last few years in violent crime. We have had many incidents of robberies, marijuana
as a result
grows.
Of these grows. Huh?
Yeah, these outdoor grows, other people see them and they realize that there's a lot of money attached there, and so they go in, they try to rob them. We've had numerous homicides over the last few years related to robberies of marijuana grows. Mm-hmm. And a lot of violent crime that have kind of sapped our resources as an agency that we have to investigate, you know, violent crimes, and a lot of it's associated with marijuana trafficking.
Yeah, and some of the people that are responsible for these grows, a lot of times when you try to find these people who are responsible, it's difficult to find some of these people.
Yeah, a lot of the times it is, because the people that are actually responsible for the grows will hire other people to work the grows and take care of the plants, and they don't really want to be
so
on the
they're
hook for
nowhere
being
near the
there.
property, right?
A lot of times they're not. That's correct.
Huh. That's interesting. And so with the marijuana grows, I'm just curious a little bit. How long does it take you to, I guess it depends on the size. How long does it take you, generally speaking, to eradicate one of these things?
Oh yeah, it completely depends on the size, but almost all of them we can be in and out of there in a few hours. I've had others that took an entire day with over 100 people. We had one that was over 54 acres spread out. Yeah, and we had to come back the next day and kind of do a little bit of mopping up. But yeah, I mean, most of them, the sizes we're seeing now, we'll be able to knock them out in a few hours.
What's the size, the average size that you're seeing now?
500 plants or so. Sometimes a few thousand, even up to 10,000 we could get in a day.
And you have to rip each plant out and count it by hand?
Yeah.
And
I mean, if they're
put that
small,
in the report? You have to put that in the report?
Yes, all that's
Okay.
documented. We keep samples for evidence, and if they're small enough, you can rip them out of the ground, and if they're not, you cut them with a machete or something. Cut them at the stalk.
Right. Hard work.
Yeah, it is hard work sometimes.
No question. Hey, we got a couple of questions here, email questions from viewers. Does the internet make it harder to fight drugs?
I'm not sure I understand what the question's asking in what respect, because
Not sure that's all it says.
well, I'll answer the question the way I'm taking it, which hopefully is right, but there's a lot of stuff on the internet in terms of teaching people, YouTube videos, that kind of stuff, kind of tutorials on how to make drugs, how to grow better marijuana, how to make methamphetamine in a 2-liter bottle, and how to make BHO. And quite honestly, yeah, it probably does. It probably spreads the criminal education a little faster than we would prefer. But the other problem that comes with that is a lot of people try that based on some internet video. You can never control the quality of the video you're downloading. You don't know if somebody's telling you how to do it right or wrong. And we have a lot of people that get themselves in trouble, especially with honey oil, because there are flammable fumes involved, and anytime you have that, you have the risk of an explosion. We do see a lot of that.
One more question, and we'll get to the honey oil question here too. Do you guys see the internet or use the internet to monitor people who are making these drugs and selling them and using them? Do you use the internet to monitor?
Sometimes, yeah. We received a drug tip this morning when I was in my office before I came over here. Somebody was selling marijuana on Craigslist, and
Really?
pulled it up, and sure enough, yeah, I mean, we see that a lot.
Is that right?
Yeah.
On Craigslist,
Honey oil.
Facebook?
Yeah, you don't usually see meth and that kind of stuff. A lot of people do put marijuana and honey oil on Facebook, though, and other types of social media places, Facebook. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about butane honey oil. Is that like marijuana oil? Similar?
Correct. Yeah.
And how's it used, and what's it used for?
Well, BHO, like you said, it's butane honey oil, and there are things you can use besides butane. We do see things besides butane used, but typically butane is the most common method to strip the THC out of a marijuana plant.
And again, it's smoked, right?
Yes, typically that is smoked.
Typically, yeah. All right, caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, John. And John, what's his first name? I'm sorry, or his last name, the sheriff?
It's Matt Alexander, lieutenant for the Fresno County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, Officer or Lieutenant Alexander. My daughter went to school in Eureka, California, and that's, they used to tease me, she's in the area where they make a lot of pot.
Right.
And the question to you is Humboldt County the pothead of the capital of California, or are we? Or you could say, which one is the most in California that sells marijuana or grows it? Not so much sells it, I think grows it. And I don't know if Humboldt County is still up there as far as the most planting, or growing it. So those are my questions compared to Fresno County.
Okay.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Yeah, the answer is I'm not really sure how we compare to Humboldt County statistically in terms of plant count, site allegations, confirmed sites, that kind of thing. Humboldt County, you're right, has always had a reputation for as long as I can remember as being pretty significant source of marijuana. Any of those Northern California counties are pretty flush with it. But we are too. We have our own problem here, and it's pretty significant.
Getting back to the honey oil, some of the labs, are we seeing a lot of people blow themselves up with these labs? I mean, causing fires and explosions because it is a dangerous process.
Yeah, that's very common for us. And like I said, when I was assigned to the task force, that was one of our main responsibilities was to respond to those. And a lot of the times we were called was after an explosion because that's how they got discovered. So,
right.
you know, you get a lot of people, and it's, you know, you have varying levels of competence for people who are
Well,
got
they're
their
in a
home.
hurry.
Yeah,
Lieutenant,
sometimes.
they're in a hurry. Come on,
and you know,
cut them a break.
The truth is, it's much easier to blow yourself up than you might think. Even when we've seen people that thought they were being careful, that were doing it out on a patio or out in the open air where it was well ventilated.
But they also do it indoors.
And they still got blown up.
They also they're doing it indoors where there's no ventilation. They keep the windows shut, and that's the perfect ingredients for an explosion, is it not?
It is, and we've found numerous BHO labs that have exploded in apartment complexes. So you've got, you know, adjoining apartments that are put in danger, kids playing nearby, kids in the apartment or in the house where the explosion occurs.
Right.
And I think a lot of people underestimate the explosion danger of
right. And these
BHO
crooks, they're not
production.
throwing the leftovers away. They're not throwing them in the garbage can. Another, we'll get to that in a moment. Another call here. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Lieutenant Matt Alexander. Go ahead.
Matt, let me ask you a quick question. I noticed that when there's a lot of traffic, especially in the rural areas where they plant things, you know, you can pass by with your vehicle and you can smell it, okay? Now, can we as individuals inform law enforcement that, you know, we smell this and that? I mean, I hate to do it sometimes because maybe it's wrong, but I know I do have a lot of helicopters during the day to go around rural areas, especially where there's areas that look like, you know, they're planting things, but instead of doing that, they've got a lot of pot going. But sometimes we're afraid to say anything because, you know, you may get the wrong thing, you know, but I know what pot smells like. But at late at night, 11 or 12 o'clock at night, you know they're not doing the work that they do during the day, you know. So could that be one thing that tips you off that they are growing that stuff?
The smell.
That's my question to you.
Yeah, thank you. It's the smell, right?
Yeah, the smell is a pretty good indicator, and pretty much everybody knows what marijuana smells like. And you know, the further we get into the season, it's very common. I'm sure everybody's experienced it in Fresno County. You're driving down the street and you just get this overwhelming scent of marijuana. And so
what do you do? You pick up call 911? What do you do?
You don't need to call 911 necessarily, but you can call the tip line, which is on our website.
That's okay.
You know, it's on the website.
We'll get to it. All right, it's on the Fresno County Sheriff's Department.
I don't ever call the tip line. I just call my sergeant and tell him.
Before I go to break here, I want to mention that a lot of these leftover marijuana plants are being used, and the substance is, you know, they're smoking the substance. What are the leftovers being used for? What do they do with them?
You're talking about the plant, the marijuana plant?
The plant.
Well, that's what they usually use for BHO production. So
that's the BHO production. That's how it's used.
Right. I mean, they'll take the bud that grows on the plant and they'll trim that, and that's what people usually roll up and smoke because it's got a high THC content. And for years, people were just taking the rest of the plant, the leaves, the stem, the shake, all that, and they would just throw it away because it was of no use to them. And then once they figured out that there was THC in that part of the plant and they figured out how to extract it, well, now you've got garbage bags full of shake
leftover,
and stems and leaves, and that's what we'll find at BHO labs.
And that's BHO. That's that's how it turns into BHO.
Correct.
No problem. Yeah. Lieutenant Matt Alexander, we're going to let you go. And hey, one other quick thing before I let you go: if marijuana is legalized in the state of California, how much more difficult is your job going to be? It'll be legal at that point, but what will that do to the process here in California, in your judgment?
Well, if they legalize it, all the laws that we're enforcing right now, if they are no longer laws, then we're not going to waste our time enforcing it now. We may still have county ordinances that restrict certain things in Fresno County, and we would continue to enforce those. But, I mean, really the problem becomes one for everybody at that point, because if you look at what's happened in Colorado and Washington and some of the other states that have recently legalized the recreational use of marijuana, there's studies out. One just came out on Washington a couple of weeks ago. The one on Colorado has been out for a while. You can pull them up online and you can see the economic impact it's had on the state as a whole in terms of healthcare costs going up, fatalities in marijuana-related DUIs. I mean, it impacts the economy and society in a lot of different ways, and so it's going to be everybody's problem.
Lieutenant, good to see you this morning. Thanks for
Good to
stopping
have me.
by. Stay safe out there. All right, Lieutenant Matt Alexander, Fresno County Sheriff's Department. And we'll hang on here a second. 436 MeTV option 11. We'll come back and talk about recruitment here on the program. Thomas Casagrande, our sponsor today on Connect with Me. Back in a moment.
Revin is now on KVHF channel 4.4.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
All right, back here on the program, Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno, and we're going to switch topics here and talk about recruitment. And let's roll the videotape, my friends, and I want to show you exactly what we're talking about. The Fresno County Sheriff's Department wants you to be a member of their team, whether it's the NARC team or whatever. They're looking for cadets. And so the recruitment is a very interesting process because it's big business. There's a lot of competition. And the Fresno County Sheriff's Department is willing to go to bat for you. In fact, if they want to recruit you in the worst way, they'll even give you a signing bonus. It's almost like being an athlete. You know, you hear about these football, baseball players, basketball players signing big contracts. Well, you know what? The Fresno County Sheriff's Department is in the business of making pitches. They're all over the state, maybe even all over the country, looking for the right cadets to join the force. Fresno County Sheriff's Department looking for qualified deputies to fill some very big shoes. 6,000 square miles for Fresno County to cover, and it takes a big job. You don't have to be an officer, a deputy out there in the field. There are all sorts of jobs within the Fresno County Sheriff's Department. We'll talk about that now live with Brandon Pursell. He is the recruitment coordinator for the Fresno County Sheriff's Department. Welcome to the program. Good to see you, Brandon. How are you?
Good, how are you?
So did I summarize it okay? You guys are looking for not anybody, but the right candidate to join the force. And how far does this stretch out? Where are you looking and how far?
You know, we'll look anywhere. It's such a specific criteria that we're looking for of someone that can be a deputy sheriff or a dispatcher or a correctional officer. Me and my team, we travel up and down the state at numerous academies, military bases, colleges, job fairs. Just trying to educate people on what it is that we're looking for, and we really ask people to kind of reflect on themselves to see if their values meet with our values and if they have that desire to serve the community.
So the biggest need right now is what? For officers, dispatchers, or correctional officers? Which is it? Or all three?
You know, probably the big three are deputy sheriffs. We're looking to hire about 23 deputy sheriffs.
Okay.
We're looking to hire about 56 correctional officers.
Wow.
And 7 new dispatchers. So I would say numbers-wise, our biggest need is going to be for corrections, and that is going to continue to grow.
What do you look for? Like, let's say you're looking at me. What are you looking for when you look at me? And what's the interview process like?
So what you're looking for is you're looking for someone that has good character, someone that has good work ethic, just like most jobs are. We do have a pretty strict background process. What you'll do is you'll apply online with the county.
Recruitment at FresnoSheriff.org. Recruitment at FresnoSheriff.org is the website, right?
That is the email address if you have any questions, and that'll go to me directly.
Okay, but what are you looking for specifically?
So we're looking for someone for corrections who's over 21 years old, who has a clean background. And by a clean background, I mean no felony convictions, no severe drug use, no domestic violence issues.
What about DUIs?
Well, DUIs is going to depend on how long ago it was. Every case is individual based on their lives.
Okay.
If it was a long time ago, it may be something that we can work with. If it's
Okay.
very recent and they're still on DUI probation, well, it's probably not going to work out.
What about misdemeanors?
Depends on what they are. A misdemeanor domestic violence is going to get you disqualified.
Okay. And so what other qualities might you be looking for in terms of a person who has applied online, let's say, at the website, and then they come in and they have to see you, right?
Well, they do. They see me or see one of my people. They go through an interview process, a standard oral board, where I'm going to ask them to explain to me why they want to be a deputy sheriff or a correctional
Is it
officer.
you or other people, let's say, that are in the room?
Well, it's going to be not just me. It's more than likely going to be me and other people.
Okay.
And we're going to ask them to explain who they are and why they're going to fit with our agency, with our culture of serving, and who they are. And if we like them as an applicant, then they'll go through a background process and a polygraph, a lie detector test, to make sure that what they're telling us is the truth.
A lie detector test?
Yeah.
Wow. And how accurate is that?
Well, I believe they're pretty accurate. It's hard to tell.
Really?
I don't know
It's
if there's
hard
really
to
a
tell,
good
yeah.
measuring stick for that.
So when did you guys start doing lie detector tests? That's interesting.
Well,
I find that fascinating.
I know we've done it the whole 15 years that I've been here. And as far as when it actually started, I'm not sure, John.
Yeah. But, and so is there a written exam?
There is. There's written exams for correctional officers, and there's written exams for deputy sheriffs. We do not have a written exam for dispatchers.
Okay.
What we have is a typing criteria for them.
All right.
They have to be able to type either 30 or 50 words per minute, depending on which position you're applying.
I can do that. I can type 80.
Well, you can put in. We'll see how your background is.
Obviously, there's an oral exam,
There is.
which we just talked about, a written exam. All right, what about the physical requirements? Is it like boot camp? What is it like?
Very much so. For the positions of correctional officer and for deputy sheriff. For deputy sheriff, you're going to go to a police academy. That police academy is over 1,000 hours of training.
Wow.
That's before you even start our training program.
And they teach you what there? What are you learning how to do?
Well, you have to remember, you're going to have to learn state laws, federal laws, local laws, procedures, constitutional law. You're also going to have to do a lot of physical testing, where you're going to have to jump over walls, you're going to have to run specific distances, you're going to have to carry heavy items to make sure that you're capable of doing the physical parts of the job also.
Let me ask you a funny question. What if you meet all the requirements, but you're not that good at handling a gun? And matter of fact, to be quite honest with you, let's say you're kind of like Barney Fife. All right, does that disqualify you? I mean, obviously, we're looking at the training right here. It's obviously gun training at the gun range. But what if you're not that good with a gun? Even with all the practice and all the time that you spend on the range, how much importance do you put on that?
I put a lot of importance on it. And the reason why is because, well, that's a real critical situation. And I think the expectation of the public is that everyone who carries a gun is going to be
You
pretty
have
precise.
to know how to use it.
Yeah, and you have to be safe with it, and you have to know that what you're shooting at is the right thing. So that's something that's very important.
Right. So it's almost like joining the military to a certain extent, isn't it?
It is. A lot of the same requirements, especially the physical requirements, are very similar.
Yeah. Where do you train for this?
We have a lot of different training facilities. We have a shooting range. We have the police academy, which is at Fresno City College. There's one in Visalia at their Hanford campus. There's police academies in Merced. And for corrections, we train locally out of our training unit, which is downtown.
Okay, and let me give that the email address one more time. Recruitment at FresnoSheriff.org, and you see those emails personally, do you not?
I do.
And what age groups, and what is the pay? What's the starting pay for, say, a deputy officer, a correctional officer, a dispatcher? They're all probably different ranges.
They are. They're very different, and the age categories are very different also. To be a dispatcher, you have to be over 18.
Okay.
To be a correctional officer, you have to be over 21. And to be a deputy sheriff, you can be 20 years old in the academy, but you have to be 21 years old when you graduate the academy.
Is that right?
Those are our minimum criteria for that.
Right. Is recruitment up or down?
Well, it depends on in what aspect you're talking about, but
The three areas, basically.
People going out to recruit good candidates, there's a lot of that. If you're a good candidate, you're going to be highly sought after by a lot of different agencies because times are changing with budgets and we're starting to fill our vacancies and other agencies are doing the same thing. So it's very competitive now for some of these good applicants. And I would say that if this is something you're considering doing, now is a very good time to get into this line of profession.
And are you seeing a lot of women recruits as well?
We do. We do see quite a few women that come through.
And pretty much the criteria is the same for them as it is for men?
It's the exact same criteria.
The exact same criteria.
You have to meet the exact same criteria physically, scholastically, all your firearm stuff, everything is the exact same because we're looking to hire deputy sheriffs.
The exact same training for everybody, doesn't matter who they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so talk about where you go, Brandon. Do you personally go out of state to recruit people?
We don't go out of state too much just because it's hard to get them to commit to being in the Fresno area.
Okay.
But we do go up and down the state, as far down south as San Diego, as far up north as Oakland. And we go to different police academies, we go to different colleges, job fairs, and we try to go to a lot of military bases. The military has a transition program, and we try to talk to our military people while they're still in to inform them about what it would take to be a deputy sheriff and get them excited to come work for us.
Yeah. If someone out there is looking right now, and a lot of young people are on vacation right now because they're out of school for still this one last day for Easter vacation, spring break, and they might be watching this program, what's the one message you want to send out to anybody that might be interested in joining the force?
Well, if you're curious about it, send me an email. If you're not quite of the age to where it would apply to you, keep your background clean. Understand that some of your actions that you're doing now as a young adult,
as a teenager,
it could potentially impact your future career. So keep doing the right thing so it doesn't come back and bite you. And if you're old enough to where you can apply and you're considering it, reach out to me and send me an email. I will have someone reach out to you within 7 days, guaranteed, on everybody that sends me an email. So give the email address again and then just send me an email.
Yeah, and the email address again is recruitment@fresnosheriff.org, recruitment@fresnosheriff.org. How many recruits are you seeing a month, every 6 months, a year?
Well, it depends. I know that the police academy currently has 2 classes going of just day class, and then they have a night class. I would say overall they probably have close to 100 cadets in there right now just trying to be deputy sheriffs. When we put out job flyers for corrections, we'll get upwards sometimes of 1,000 applicants.
1,000?
It takes a lot. So it just depends on what the job is for, and a lot of people get weeded out in that process. A lot of them have background issues. A lot of them have just failed to fill out the application correctly. There's a lot of steps in order to get hired, and that's why we get so many. But it really whittles down to very, very few at the end of it.
Biggest mistake that people make when they want to join the force is what?
They start too late.
Really?
They wait. They wait too long, and I'll talk to them,
and they'll say...
Is there an age cutoff? There's no age cutoff, but when I talk to them, everyone tells me the same thing. I wish I would have done this 5 years ago when I first started thinking about it.
I see.
So I really tell people, if you're thinking about it, reach out. Figure out if it's right for you.
Yeah, and who knows, you should start thinking about it maybe in high school.
Absolutely.
And do you visit high schools?
We do. We visit high schools, not necessarily to recruit them, but more to educate the high schoolers about what our job is so that they can just kind of start thinking about it. We just plant a seed and let them know that their current actions are going to impact them in the future.
So you're really giving signing bonuses like an athlete?
We do not.
You
the Sheriff's
don't?
Office does not give signing bonuses.
No. Where'd that come from? Okay, all right. I don't know.
Some agencies.
Some agencies maybe do.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. But you are actively recruiting right now.
Absolutely.
All right, let me get that email one more time. Recruitment@fresnosheriff.org. Recruitment@fresnosheriff.org. Brandon Pursell was our guest here in the last few minutes. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
and good luck to you in that recruiting process.
Thank you.
It's difficult to weed everybody out. There's no question about it. All right, that's going to do it for us today here on Connect with Me TV Fresno. Remember, hey, we're going to have the owner of the Fresno Grizzlies in tomorrow. Wednesday, it'll be Jeremy Pierce running for City Council District number 6. Back tomorrow. Have a good day.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Take a look at this.
Let's play.